So if you guys have been following me here on the channel, you guys know that I have been very, very cautious of the Netflix live-action Cowboy Bebop. I did not like the casting choice for Spike. I did not like the teaser trailer. I did not like the full trailer. I didn't like the look that I felt like the series was going for. I am a massive Cowboy Bebop fan. I own it on Blu-ray. I own it on DVD. I used to have some bootleg VHSs back in the early 2000s, back when it was cool to have imported bootleg VHSs of stuff like Dragon Ball GT, Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, Cowboy Bebop, because anime back in the late 90s, early 2000s wasn't as common or even cool as it is today. You had to sneak it. It was almost like a kid trying to hide porn from his parents. Like, if you watched anime in school, you got bullied. You got beat up. It isn't like today where everybody in the class watches anime and you have one or two people that don't. Back then, everybody didn't watch anime and only one or two people did. And I've always been a massive fan of Cowboy Bebop. Ever since I watched my first ever episodes on bootleg, we used to sit around during our lunch break and science class, and we used to just watch these bootlegs all the time. That's how I was exposed to Dragon Ball, and that's how I was exposed to Cowboy Bebop and Rurouni Kenshin. And I fell in love with Cowboy Bebop. And the movie, I love the movie. The movie's really, really good. I'm not a big fan of when these anime series do their movies, like Dragon Ball movies, up until like the last three. The Dragon Ball movies have kind of been like hit and miss. Same thing with Yu Yu Hakusho and a lot of those. But Cowboy Bebop, the movie, was actually really, really good. And the series overall is fantastic. And I didn't know how they were going to be able to transfer that world into live action, because Cowboy Bebop is a space bounty hunter type series where you have these bounty hunters called cowboys, and they basically go around the universe and they're looking for bounties. You know, we go on Mars and Earth, and there's plenty of different things, and there's a lot of different colorful characters. And at the heart of it is Spike and Jet. Now, I will say this. I was very, very skeptical going in. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I feel about this. The screenshots don't look good. I'm not entirely, sold on the actors' choices. I'm not liking the trailers. I'm going in with the lowest of expectations. And I watched the first episode, and I was like, oh, this isn't bad. And then I watched the second episode, and then the third episode. And I'm about halfway through the first season, and it's really, like, I'm really enjoying it. I'm honestly really enjoying it. And not just because I went in with low expectations, not only because of the trailers I've seen, but these anime turned to live action hasn't done well. Right, we saw what happened with Ghost in the Shell, although I feel like Ghost in the Shell is one of the better ones. But let's look and see what Netflix did to Death Note. Look at Dragon Ball Evolution. Look at some of these anime adaptations, and they're not really good. It's almost like a coin flip where you have to throw. It's like the video game movies. You know, every time we go see a new video game movie, 90% of them, they're trash. So I didn't know how I was going to feel about Cowboy Bebop. I wasn't liking what I was seeing, and I went in very low expectations, and I'm happy to say that I was pleasantly surprised what I saw. Now, I'm still not the biggest fan of John Cho playing Spike. To me, he doesn't fit the role of what I feel like Spike should be. Spike is a tall, slender man, and you see he has very fluent movements, and John Cho tries to, show that on screen, but I just feel like he's a little too short, a little too stocky. He doesn't have that facial expression that Spike has, and I just don't really believe him as Spike. But I constantly just forgive the series because Jet is so goddamn good. This dude is legit. Jet is white in the series, but they decided to make this gentleman black in the live action series, and he is spot on. So any complaints I have with John Cho playing Spike Spiegel, Jet is just completely amazing. He looks like Jet. He sounds like Jet. He acts like Jet. I believe that this guy is Jet. Like, he was born in this world to play Jet. And he does such a great job. And the thing that I love about this show so far is they captured the spirit of what Cowboy Bebop is. You know, these two bounty hunters going out, things just, you know, they're down on their luck. They can't afford to buy noodles. You know, Spike is always like, oh man, I'm hungry. You know, he's got the syndicate on his ass. They got Vicious, and there's all kinds of different things going on. And they really capture the heart and soul of what I feel like Cowboy Bebop is. And that's why I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah, you know, I can get over the casting choice of John Chow, because at the end of the day, he's passable. Okay, he's not my first choice. I would much like to see someone else play Spike Spiegel, but at the end of the day, he's passable. He brings enough to the role that I can say, okay, I'm just gonna disconnect my mind and say this is a different version of Spike Spiegel. But then you look at Jet, and this guy is just spot on, and they bring the humor. They play off each other so very well, and I really like what they're doing. And the one thing I really enjoyed about this series so far is they're really diving in to Spike's background with Vicious and the Syndicate and Julia, and Vicious and Julia have a lot more to do in this series compared to what they had to do in the original anime, because in the original anime, Vicious and Julia and that triangle between them and Spike was always there, but we would go episodes upon episodes not hearing a damn thing about any of that stuff. But in the Netflix series, they're really putting it front and center. Like, we're going to know the past of Spike Spiegel. We're going to know who Vicious and Julia is. And I really, really like that. And of course, if you guys watch the entire series of Cowboy Bebop, you know how it ends. It doesn't necessarily end on the most happiest of notes, but it's really, really interesting how they decided that they want to just dive deep into the background of Spike and really kind of show more light on the Vicious Julia storyline. And I think that is one of the interesting things from Cowboy Bebop, that and the crazy ass adventures and crazy bounties that they go after. There's been a lot of controversy on Faye. And sure, would I like to see the traditional Faye Valentine costume? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make or break the character. It's all about how the actor acts. And I thought she was fantastic. Like, so far, so good. Like, I think the casting choices have all been pretty stellar, with the exception of John Chow. And I'm not saying he's bad. I think he's doing the character pretty much justice. I just think he's not what I envision for Spike. I think he's doing his damnedest to pull off that character. And for a lot of people who aren't familiar with Cowboy Bebop and new to the franchise, they're not going to know the difference. So they're going to go in and see this and they're going to think, oh, that's Spike. To me, I think he's a little too old for the role. I think, you know, he's not my first choice. But at the same time, you can see where he's actually trying. He's putting effort into, and he's a great actor. Like, I love him in everything he's been in. And I think he's a damn good Sulu. And I really like him in the Star Trek movies and all that stuff. And I really, really like the actor. Just not my first choice if I was going to, you know, cast Spike Spiegel. But at the same time, you learn, you live, whatever, you move on. It ain't that big of a deal. The most important part is the series good? And I gotta be honest with you, halfway through the first season, I am very much impressed with it. I think they did a damn good job. I think Netflix managed to capture the feel of Cowboy Bebop, and it actually gives me some hope for the upcoming Avatar live action, the Avatar Last Airbender live action. This gives me some hope because they are handling that, and I was really, really worried because we've seen stuff like Death Note and all that stuff. So Cowboy Bebop, my first impressions, very, very positive. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Can't wait to see how the season finishes out, and hopefully we get that second season soon and probably finish up the series within that second season. So guys, I want to know what you guys think. Have you watched Cowboy Bebop on Netflix? Are you interested in it? Leave those comments in the comment box below. And until next time, as always, I am Robert Storms, and that's my opinion. Later, guys.